And welcome to the Alouettes Flightdeck, podcast dedicated to Montreal Alouettes football, presented by our good friends over at Royal Retros, where, Cliff, you don't need a time machine to get your hands on some sweet, sweet retro merch. Heading over to royalretros.com, and if you use the promo code FlightDeck at checkout, you will save 10% off on your entire order. Again, it's heading over to royalretros.com. I'm Tim Capper. You can find me on X and Blue Sky at Repact. That's REPPACT.
And I'm Cliffy D. You can also find me on X and on Blue Sky over at Cliffy D.
All right, bud.
As they say, the horrors persist, but so do I. Listen, it's springtime at least. I mean, the last time we did a show, it was in the winter.
I mean, did you see the wind that started up tonight? I was like, what the hell's going on? I mean, it was 16 to 14 degrees a day, whatever it was, but it was like, where did that come from?
Yeah, it's so weird, but I mean, that's Montreal for you. I mean, if you don't like the weather, wait 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Again, a week later than what we wanted for our next episode, but I'll be honest with you. Despite the setbacks that we had that we were going to have for the show, that we had scheduled for the show last week, it to this week is going to make up for it in spades, my friend. Is it not?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm a firm believer that timing is everything, and perhaps maybe this is just the way it was supposed to work out. And oh my, we have got a great interview lined up for you folks, and my God, I mean, what a journey. I mean, we were very blessed to be joined this evening by two-time Grey Cup champion and Canadian Football Hall of Famer. Yes, Alouettes legend, number 11, Chip Cox, becomes a part of the flight deck tonight. And we are so excited to bring that to you folks.
Yeah, very candid. You guys are very candid, and it's not really much. I'm not one for spoilers, but the one point in the interview where he gets choked up surprises both. So I'll leave you guys with that tease, but you guys have to. Like I said, you'll have to watch it. It's well worth the time that you're gonna take to listen or watch it. So that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. You talk all about timing. Very interesting timing, needless to say the least. That obviously the big news that came out of the Alouettes organization this week is that Mark Waitman has decided to, quote unquote, step down from the Montreal Alouettes and is no longer their president and CEO. What I thought was very interesting, by the way, Cliff, it was literally 2 days to the year since they made his announcement that he was coming to the Alouettes. 2 days to the year. First and foremost, obviously, Cliff and I want to thank Mark for everything that he's done, not only for the team, but also what he has done to supporting us here at the Alouettes Flight Deck over this last 3 years. Actually, prior to that too, even with that 2025 the special that we did on the 25th anniversary of the U2 game, which are back in our archives. Mm-hmm. It was, we speculated on some certain things on what he might be doing, and obviously, we were thinking, maybe the new commissioner. Well, we got news to talk to you about that too. That's not the case.
You're just hitting everybody with spoilers, aren't you?
I tell you, that's in the last segment, but everybody stay tuned. But I will admit, this was a surprise. I think I don't know how to take this. It's that the last 5 presidents that the Alouettes have all been here for 3 years or less. And this is in good times and in bad times. What I thought was interesting is that like what happened after, I'm bringing it up here. I should have had it here. Like what happened before is that the Alouettes are not going to be replacing the president, at least for 2025. It's very similar to after Ray Lalonde left after a year in 2011. What were your thoughts? And I'm sure you can give a little bit more context too on who's getting what and who's been named what, et cetera, et cetera.
Definitely, as you said, this kind of came out of left field. I mean, we were not expecting to have to discuss the possibility of Mark Waitman not being with the Alouettes as president and CEO. I mean, ultimately, he was the president and CEO of the last Grey Cup victory and very much an integral part of this team, and arguably one of the main reasons why the Alouettes turned themselves into a championship organization almost immediately. For this move to happen, it was definitely unexpected, to say the least. Disappointing as well, because yes, Mark Waitman has definitely been a big believer in the Alouettes, a big believer in making other people believers in the Alouettes, and to help us with this show as well. He has definitely been an invaluable tool. Definitely appreciate his insight on a lot of things. We'd be talking to him after matches and just in general get-togethers and whatnot. And he was always more than willing to share as much as he could of himself with us, and that's something that we don't take lightly. We definitely appreciate him being able to do that for us. As far as leading this team off the field, I mean, I thought he was doing a fantastic job and had no reason to believe that would be changing, but lo and behold, here we are. And yeah, we sort of thought, is this for him to go and do something else bigger, perhaps, than being a part of the Montreal Alouettes? Obviously, the CFL hadn't, at that time, not named their new commissioner yet. And we thought, is this a possibility? I mean, it's not so unprecedented because let's not forget, former Commissioner Larry Smith and former Montreal Alouette Larry Smith did come to the Alouettes and became their president back in 97. I'm sorry, 96. I'm sorry. And it's like, okay, technically it's going the other way around, but I mean, it's still, is there a possibility that Mark Waitman, who definitely knows his football, definitely knows business, definitely knows how to reach out to the community and get people excited about football? We thought that would be a great choice as far as looking for a new CFL commissioner. That would be someone that checks all of those boxes and then some. Could he be able to do that league wide? There's no reason to believe that he couldn't, as far as we were concerned. Ultimately, though, again, going to bury the lead here, but somebody else was chosen to become the new commissioner of the Canadian Football League, and now we're left to wonder, okay, well, what's next for Mark Waitman? Because we couldn't entertain the idea that he's no longer going to be a part of this organization. But one thing with Mark, he always lands on his feet. He always has something going, and he always finds a way to integrate sports with business and find a way to present a very entertaining product in pretty much everything he touches. So I'm not worried about him personally. I think he'll be more than fine. As far as I'm concerned, he must have something possibly even bigger up his sleeve. So I'm curious to see what the next step is for Mark Waitman. And now we're left to, okay, well, they're not going to fill the presidency or CEO position now. What becomes of it? Well, folks, as it stands right now, no, they will not be searching for another president, at least not immediately. For the remainder of the 2025 calendar year, the duties of president and CEO are going to be split amongst General Manager Danny Machocha, who has a slightly revamped title, although he has said he's not getting a pay raise as a result. And also Rene Masson, who is part of the board of directors, is also going to be assuming most of Waitman's duties as well as I believe he and Danny are both going to be the lead governors. In my understanding, it's going to be like a part of one of the lead governors of the Canadian football, or of the Alouettes, to the Canadian Football League. So essentially, Danny Mac is adding to his resume yet again. And Rene Masson, if you didn't know his name before, hopefully we're going to learn a little bit more about him now and see how he's going to be I imagine he's going to be handling a little bit more of the business side of things when it comes to the Montreal Alouettes, because again, Danny Machocha does have a very important job in being general manager and helping build hopefully another championship roster in 2025. So it's going to be an interesting dynamic to see how these two are going to be able to coexist and work together, essentially for the greater good, for the goal of, as we talked about, bringing that 9th championship to the Montreal Alouettes. And well, I mean, listen, I think if nothing else, Danny Machocha for sure has you have no choice but to give him the benefit of the doubt when it comes to things, especially on the football side of the Montreal Alouettes. The team is in more than capable hands. Rene Masson, I imagine we're going to hear more about him over the next couple of weeks, months, and so on. But again, the goal remains the same, and that seems to be the message throughout the Alouettes organization themselves is nothing's changed, other than the fact that it's not Mark Wakeman at the helm. This train keeps on rolling, as they say. I mean, this is it's business as usual as far as Montreal Alouettes are concerned. So if you have any doubts, any concerns, or anything like that, understandable. But I think with this organization, the way it's built from top to bottom, I don't think there's anything to be concerned about.
No. And I don't mean to fact check Larry Smith, 1997.
It was nice. Always trust your first instinct, folks.
Yeah. Jim Spiros was 96.
Oh, okay. He was principal owner, but I guess he was president too. Okay.
Yeah.
My bad.
It's okay. Official titles for Rene Masson. He's the director of finance. He will become the senior vice president and chief operating officer and chief financial officer. In addition to day-to-day management of the organization, Rene's responsibilities will include growing the team's revenues and returning it to profitability. As we talked about, our current general manager, Danny Machocha, he will become the senior vice president of football operations and obviously general manager. He will be responsible with relations with the Canadian Football League, the other teams and authorities concerning all football operations, activities, and policies. As Cliff mentioned, Rene and Danny will sit on the Montreal Alouettes Executive Committee, chaired by Andre Brasseur, owners, representative, and members of the CFL Board of Governors, who will oversee the team's administration and operations. And obviously that took place, as I said, on March 28th. For us, we'll have to pivot ourselves because, we've had a good thing running for the past 5 years of talking to the president and CEO of the team to find out what happened, and then what's happening. So seeing who's going to give the state of the team update will be interesting, and I guess it will determine who we are going to try to speak with at the end of the year. I wouldn't be surprised if it is Rene. Wouldn't be surprised, but we'll try to meet him before that, post game, or any other Alouettes functions where we can meet him.
I mean, we're not that hard to find, so
no, we're not.
Rene, if you're watching, if you're listening, come say hi. We don't bite.
Yeah. But again, like you said, it was a huge surprise that this occurred. And being at the time when it has, and I don't think anybody really knows, because I was talking to a few people after it occurred. We talked about the whole potential commissioner thing and possibly other stuff, but it's not really for me to actually talk about. It's just, it was the second time being the Alouettes president and CEO. And I will admit it was a big surprise because I don't think you and I talked about this on air, but you and I had talked about, I think, usually contracts usually for the president, for at least for the Alouettes, are usually 3 years. And he was coming up on what essentially would be his third year as president. And we were going to, we talked about potentially asking him if there was an update on his status. Well, this came out.
There is.
Yeah, this came out, and it was a surprise. I said, I think really for Alouettes Nation, it was a huge surprise. I don't know how many people felt, gave the meh answer type of thing, you know what I mean? Or does it really matter? But losing any president and CEO of the team, for whether it be the same wave that, a different wave that happened for Mario Ticini and not being brought back, or in this case, I understand that there are are still questions that we know that will never be answered. At least I'm guessing in a public forum. But I still think, I have no problem with how the team has handled this. It's not the best situation, obviously. They had the whole presser after it occurred, and Danny Machocha was available, but yet it was only Danny Machocha was available to the media. It wasn't Danny Machocha and Rene Masson, or it wasn't Pierre-Carl Pelotto's assistant. To answer more questions that the media may have had. So I guess we can really say it is what it is. I mean, we may never know what the real reason was. Whether resignation, firing, not a contract was actually 2 years, or if it was 3 or whatever it was, we're never going to find out. But it's time. It's time to move on.
Yeah, at this point, it's irrelevant. So,
yeah.
I mean, as you said, it is what it is. You move on, and as I said, this organization is going to keep on rolling. There's, the goal stays the same, right? You're trying to win your 9th Grey Cup, and simply put, that's got to be your focus. Never mind the stuff in the back, the stuff, the administrative side of things. It'll take care of itself. It has to. Simply put, with Pierre-Carl Pelotto as the owner, he's not going to leave things unattended. We've seen that in his brief ownership tenure.
Mm-hmm.
He gets things done. Things are going to be fine. Simply put, things are going to be fine. All we can do at this point is once again thank Mark Waitman for everything he has done for this Alouettes organization, everything he's done for Alouettes Nation, and yes, everything he's done with us here on the podcast. And just wish him all the best in his future endeavors.
Yeah, exactly. Really, one other note that yes, there were some transactions, but with all honesty, if you want to see what the transactions were, head over to the CFL website or to the team page. They were listed there. But the other thing that was announced, I think we should mention because we're most likely won't have another show at least for another 2 weeks, is that the Alouettes announced, and it was actually kind of, dare I say, spoiled by the Ville de Saint Jerome website. They kind of spoiled because if anybody remember from last year, some of the information was there when it came to camp and whatnot. Their site, and then the Alouettes made it official today, that there is going to be an open house at the same arena or same sports complex, just the indoor field in St. Jerome for the Alouettes on April 12th, which will be occurring from 12 to 4 p.m. People there, Danny Mac will be there. I'm sure some players will be there. They haven't announced who it has been yet, but there's going to be a whole bunch of stuff. Basically, it's an open. It's leading up to the point because the date that we're taping this, Cliff, we are just over 30 days until camp starts. Mm-hmm. So it's again, it's an introduction again to anybody who hadn't been or wants to go to get the get the idea of what it may be like for when camp does start in St. Jerome that second week in May.
Mm-hmm. Basically, an appetizer, if you will, to sort of build an appetite for, as you said, in 30 days or a little over 30 days, the Alouettes are actually on a practice field getting ready for the season to start. So a good opportunity, once again, for not just the people of St. Jerome, but pretty much anyone in Quebec to get just a little teaser, a little taste of what's to come in 2025 for the Montreal Alouettes. So, yeah, if you have the opportunity to go to St. Jerome and check it out, I strongly suggest you do.
Yeah, and also one quick thing too, since we were talking about what they announced there, another team probably won't be announcing this until a little bit later, because it has to do with the it's during camp itself. The date in itself for the intra-squad game, Cliff, has already been announced too. That's going to be Saturday, May 17th, which will start with a tailgate party around 2:30 p.m. And the intra-squad game will start at 4:45. And I'm trying to remember, did it start that late last year?
Yeah, it did actually.
Okay, I couldn't remember. So, but yeah, that said, more information, I'm sure it will come from the Alouettes, or if need be, you can head over to the Ville de Saint Jerome website and the information will be there. So,
and of course, we'll talk about it too as time gets closer, as the season approaches. We'll be talking about all these things and so much more.
Yeah, exactly. And it's very possible that at least one of us or the flight deck will be represented next Saturday at the open house. Just stay tuned to our socials for any and all information. Chip clocks. What you got to say, buddy? Let's get into this very, again, it is such an amazing interview, and I'm so hoping people are going to like this thing.
Well, listen, if you're a fan of Chip Cox, you're going to be tuning in for this, and you have to, because I tell you what, the Chip Cox you may remember from back in the day was one of those like speak softly and carry a big stick types, like the strong silent type. Wasn't really much of a talker, but he had a lot to say, and we are so thankful to have had the opportunity to be able to listen to him talk and share, and get his perspective on so many topics. I mean, just basically from start to finish when it comes to Chip Cox is absolutely phenomenal. So I say let's get into this right now, ladies and gentlemen. Hall of Famer, Grey Cup champion, Alouettes legend, number 11, Chip Cox.
And real quickly, I'm going to interject a little bit of spicy language. Just go with it. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, this may be the first NC-17 episode of the Alouettes Flight Deck. It does get a little salty, and Chip does apologize for it. But
I think after people see the interview, they'll understand it's well worth it. So again, either way, as Cliff said, let's talk with Chip Cox.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are so excited this evening. We've got ourselves not just a guest, but we've got ourselves one hell of a guest. I mean, I'm talking about a Grey Cup champion, Canadian Football Hall of Famer, arguably one of the most amazing defensive players who have ever put on a Montreal Alouettes uniform. We are so excited tonight to be joined by number 11, Chip Cox. Chip, welcome to the Alouettes Flight Deck.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys having me.
When it came to high school, we didn't know what to do.
So how's it going, man? It's been a minute since we've last saw you in Montreal. So how's Chip Cox in 2025 doing right now?
I'm doing good. My kids are in a bunch of sports. They're doing phenomenal at those sports. That's what my life revolves around, is my wife and kids. And yeah, I mean, the businesses are doing pretty well. We're making money, so life is good.
Well, I can't say no to making money nowadays, that's for sure.
Right.
Actually, for those who don't know, Chip, what businesses have you started?
We own a gym. Me and my wife, we own a gym. We own a golf course, and we have a few pieces of real estate that do pretty good.
Cool.
Okay. And for folks that are listening, I may not know, you're based out of Columbus, Ohio. So this is in the Columbus area?
Yeah, we're actually in Johnstown, which is where the new Intel plant is being built.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right.
City on the grow. We like that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. So Chip, I mean, obviously there's a ton to talk about when it comes to your CFL career, but one thing we always want to find out when we're talking with the guys for the first time on the show is what got you into football? Was there anybody in particular who got you into it? Was it somebody who you look up to? You said, you know what, let me go and play some football. I mean, what actually got you into football?
I actually remember what got me into football. I was sitting there watching it on TV. I was about 4 or 5 years old. And I was like, my mom and dad were sitting there, and I was like, I want to do that. I was like, that looks fun. Like, they get to hit people and not get in trouble. So like, that looks real fun to me. And I told my mom and dad, I was like, I want to do that. And my parents took me out to the field, and from then on, I was 5 years old. From then on, I've been playing football.
Wow. No,
and it was my mom. My dad didn't want to do it. My dad was like, nah. My mom's like, fuck that. Excuse my language. My mom's like, forget that. If you want to play football, we're going to take you out to play football. So my mom took me out, and then my dad ended up, telling me, if you're going to play this, you're either going to love it or hate it. And I fell in love with it.
Were you always on the defensive side? I mean, obviously when you're kids, you can play almost any position, but were you always on the defensive side? Did you play wide receiver or anything else like that?
So my first year, I was the smallest, like I was the youngest on the team, and I played on the defensive line actually, and I was one of the smallest
Oh.
guys on the line. But then from then on, it was and because I started in the middle of the year, so they were like, we don't know what this, we've never seen this kid, never seen, doesn't know what he can do, and I wasn't scared of anything, so I went out there and played on the defensive line, and then from then on, it was the next few years was running back and defense, and then when I got to high school, I told, I played quarterback a lot of times in little league from about 10 till I got to high school. When I got to high school, my dad said, "Don't let them see you throw the ball." And I was like, "Well, why not?" He's like, "Because there's no 5'10", 5'9", 5'10" quarterbacks in the NFL, and if that's what you want to do, and there's no professional quarterbacks that are 5'9", 5'10". We didn't know about the CFL back then, so and that's what he said. So I didn't play any quarterback. I didn't let him see me throw the ball, so I didn't play any quarterback in high school. And then in high school, I was playing receiver, running back, and defense. And then when I got to college, they kind of recruited three of us. They were kind of the same type of player. They all played high school running back, receiver, DB. And I told them, I was like, you don't even have to worry about me going over there to offense. I'm just gonna take somebody's spot on defense. And that's what. And I ended up starting as a true freshman at OU. So.
Oh, wow.
So as far as quarterbacking goes, were you actually good at quarterback, or was it just a position
That's
to play?
That's why my dad told me not to let my high school coach see you throw the ball, because I was a good athlete and I could, within 25 yards, I was very, very accurate at that age. So I could hit pretty much anything.
See, it's funny because nowadays you got like Russell Wilson, Brock Purdy. These are guys that are under
Exactly.
6 feet, and they're playing quarterback at a great level. And maybe you were just born in the wrong era, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it worked out fine for me. I'm not a quarterback. I'm too hot tempered. Like I'm too hot tempered. Yeah.
I was about to say, Cliff, and also Doug Flutie. Hello, anybody?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
True. He was like what 5'5" on a good day. So
yeah, right. Yeah.
Exactly. Besides football itself, Chip, did you play any other sports in high school? Did you baseball, basketball, anything else like?
I was actually a second-degree black belt in Taekwondo.
Oh.
I wrestled a little bit, and I did a little bit of wrestling. I didn't really. I went undefeated, but I didn't like it. It wasn't anything. I was like, okay, I'm good at this, but this is not something I want to continue to do. So I stopped wrestling, and then I ran track. I actually ran track in college too. So I ran track in high school and college. So
Okay.
no surprise there with the speed that you brought to the field. I definitely believe that you ran track.
Yeah.
Actually, now knowing that he did that he was in martial arts, it's like it makes it even better knowing this now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking, okay, martial artist throwing around 200-pound kettlebells. I am definitely staying on your good side.
Yeah.
Yeah. When it came to, obviously you said you're at Ohio University. I mean, you had 240 career tackles and stuff like that. And do you look fondly upon your college career, Chip?
I love my college career because it was I got to just go play football in college, and like I didn't really understand game planning and all of that stuff. I was just out there playing, and I got to learn a lot because I'm out there with a lot of just raw tech, just a lot of raw skill. And I mean, it 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 allowed me to not be fearful of anything because I never had really been taught how to cover. I never had really been taught how to do a lot of things, and I just was basically learning it on my own. And I didn't even realize that I didn't learn technique and all that stuff until I was about 5 years into my pro career. And I'm like, yo, if I started doing this a little bit different, I could make this game way easier. So it was like a lot of my career was just off of just raw athleticism. And it's like, I'm gonna be better than this guy. I can stay in front of this guy, and it just all, and wasn't really a film guy. I just knew I was in better shape than a lot of people, and I was going to be quicker than a lot of people. So I was able to gain that confidence in college because that's all I did. I was just quicker and more athletic.
We asked quite a few people this because a lot of the players that we've been speaking with recently. If you had been playing in university during the current NIL era, I'll call it, do you think you would have been one of those players that you would have taken advantage of the portal, or would you have stayed your entire career like you did at Ohio?
Well, see, here's here's the funny thing about this. I can tell this story now. My defensive coordinator left Ohio University after my freshman year. I ran into him in the summer in Athens, and I hadn't redshirted yet. I didn't redshirt in college, so I had a redshirt year that I could have used. And he was like, "Hey, I'm in Indiana. We want you to why don't you come to Indiana? You know, you'll sit out a year. It'll be your redshirt year, but then you'll pick right back up where you left off because you won't lose any years." And he even turned and looked at me and was like, my wife now, that was my girlfriend then, he's like, we have a scholarship for her also. And I was like,
Wow.
and my wife, she was my girlfriend then, and she looked at me and she's like, wow, like, okay. And we were crossing paths in Athens. I don't remember where we were at. And like me and my wife were like, she was my girlfriend then, so I keep saying my wife, but
Yeah.
so
You're
me and my
laughing,
wife are sitting
of
there,
course.
and we're like, and I looked at him. He's like, no, I'm serious. And I was like, okay, I have something to think about. And so, we went back and forth, and I was like, you know what? He is the reason I came to the school because he recruited me, but we love where we are. So we feel like we made a good decision because we like the school. So we decided not to do that. So I probably, I may have taken advantage of the portal just because, like, if Ohio State comes knocking, you're not staying at OU.
Yeah.
But like in Indy, and even when I was recruited by Indiana coming out of high school, the coach at Indiana asked me sitting in his office, he said, "Now, if we offer you a scholarship and Ohio State offers you a scholarship, who are you going to take?" And my dad was in the office with me. And I looked at my dad and I was like, and I did one of these, like, "Is he serious, Dad?" And I turned and looked at him and said, "I'm going to go to Ohio State. Like, what do you mean? Like," and I'm a 17-year-old kid, not knowing you should just play the game and say,
Mhm.
"Oh, I'm going here." But yeah, I just was like, "I'm going to Ohio State." And my dad sat back like, "Oh my gosh, kid, like, what is wrong with you?" But that's just always been me. I've never had a filter. I'm always going to tell you the truth, and I'm going to tell you what's on my mind. I'm not really good at hiding anything. I'm not a card or poker player.
Yeah. Do you find that the players now have a harder time because of the portal and stuff like that? Because, as you said, you would have had to redshirt. The guys now don't have to redshirt. They could easily go and they go right back in and they continue playing their college career.
I think that it's easier because it's more accepted, right? Like everybody, I mean, I've always been a loyal person. I mean, that's why I didn't play after Montreal never called me back because it was just like, do I really want to go to another franchise because I'm just loyal. Like that's just me. I've always been loyal. So that's not it. Like being loyal to yourself now is more acceptable than just being loyal to a franchise or a school or something like that. So like, I think they have it just fine because it's acceptable to be selfish, I should say.
Mhm.
I mean, and people always say you should be selfish, but at the same time, you have to have some type of loyalty to something. There has
Yeah.
to be some type of substance on it. I don't know. I struggle with it, with the NIL stuff because, yeah, you make a decision, you stick with that.
Yeah.
Loyal to the soil.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm loyal to the soil, and that's probably why I've never gone into coaching either. So, because what I'm gonna do, just stay at one team forever, even if they don't, like they fire me, then not go get a job in coaching. Like it's one of those things. And
Do
then
you,
like I don't want to coach anywhere anyway, but Montreal. If I'm gonna coach, like let's be honest, I couldn't see me going some other franchise because I didn't even want to play for another franchise. So yeah, it's just that might be a downfall for me or an upside. I don't know. At least my wife knows she's got somebody who's never gonna leave her.
There you go.
Right? I
Listen,
mean,
in this day and age, with attention spans being so short and everything like that, for someone to be laser focused on one thing and one thing only, that's a rarity, my man.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was about to say, being so loyal, how does that work out with your businesses and your golf course? Are you one of those type? Are you really hands on with these with these businesses?
I am very hands on. I do a lot of stuff myself because I am that way. Like I don't really want to get too close to too many people and then have to like let them go or something like that. Like that's just yeah. I mean that's probably part of the reason I haven't grown as much as I could because I am so loyal. I yeah. It
Yeah.
could be one of my downfalls or a good side. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hey, if it works, that's what you got. That's how you got to look at it. If
Right.
it's
I'm happy.
working,
Everything's working for me. I'm doing okay. I eat at night. I have a roof over my head. So what more can you ask for?
exactly. All right. Before we wrap up your college career, was there any NFL interest, or once your career at Ohio finished, was there any NFL interest, or was it just simply go right to the CFL?
So I went to the Detroit Lions after my senior year of college, and when I was in Detroit, I got cut from them. So when I got cut from the Lions, Jim Pop wanted me to come up like that year, and I didn't have my degree yet. So I was like, no. I told my agent like, no, I'm going back to get my degree because there's no way I shouldn't have made that team. And since I didn't make that team, I need to have a backup plan because that doesn't make sense to me that the best players didn't make the team. Like I didn't comprehend it. I didn't understand the business of it and the way they want to set up a team, and I didn't fit with that team. My attitude, that type of stuff, they didn't feel it would fit. So I didn't understand that. I was just always thought the best played, so it didn't matter, or the best they kept the best. So since that happened, I was like, I'm getting a degree. Like I'm not playing those games. So then that's when I came up to the CFL in 2006. And then after 2006, after my rookie year in the CFL, I was with the Washington Redskins. I was signed with them in 2007. And when I got cut from Washington, I came back to Montreal, finished that. We won the Grey Cups. And then I went and worked out for a couple teams. And I went and worked out for Seattle, Washington, or the Seattle Seahawks. And when I worked out with them, they were like, we're going to sign you. We're going to get you a physical, and we're going to offer you a contract. So I went to get the physical. And as I was getting my physical, it came across the screen that they fired all their coaches and coaching staff and everything. And the scout looked at me and was like, dude, I don't even know if I have a job right now. And I was like, well, that's a really scary feeling. You know what I mean? Like, and so while I'm sitting there getting the physical, and I was like, well, this is a sign for me, at this point. So I was like, from now on, I don't care. I'm just going to go play football because that's just that's always been the goal, right? My goal my whole life was I'm going to play football for a living. It was never I was going to play in the CFL. And then maybe I set the wrong goal. I should have said I'm going to play in the NFL and not play football for a living. But like I said, I'm happy. And my goal was always to just play football for a living. And that the CFL was able to allow me to do that. And it allowed me to, set up a life after football where I don't have to do anything. And life is good. So I can't complain.
You went when you were doing your physical with Seattle and stuff like that. Was that the NFL window part of your contract? Trying to look at your information here, but
That
or
was
that
that was I think that was the window. I might have been a free agent actually when I worked out with Seattle.
okay?
That may have been after the 2011 season. I was a free agent. Yeah, that was 2011 season, and I had an actual couple contract offers, but at that point it was like, if you're not going to give me enough more money than the CFL is going to give me up front, then I can't sign a contract because that means I'm not signing a contract if you have more money in the CFL. So if you want me, give me more money up front than my CFL team's going to offer me. I'll come play, or I'll at least take the chance to come play. And then if it doesn't work out, I go back to CFL. And since no team was willing to give me that, I was like, then they don't really believe in me anyway. And I'm not going to be anybody's camp body at this stage in my life.
That's about to
So,
say, yeah, you didn't want to be camp fodder. There's no
yeah, I'm not
reason
gonna
to.
be exactly like I mean, and that's when I had Chris Jones actually had a conversation with me, and that I thought about that conversation that I had, and he said, "Be careful chasing something, and not worrying about. Be careful chasing something that may never come true that you have no control over."
Mm.
And I was, that kind of set with me because, and he's like, "You can make a great career here. You can make a great life here. Remember that." And so I remember that, and I've always been a person that listens. So, like at that point, that's when that conversation clicked in my head. Like, yeah, I'm not gonna keep chasing this because I can be happy with the CFL. Like, I just want to play football anyway.
Did Coach Pop you have on the team's negotiation list, or was it just something where out of the blue he'd been watching as if anybody knows Jim Pop, he's been great at finding talent throughout his career. Was it just a matter of you were on the negotiation list, or was it just him contacting your agent and saying we want you here?
He saw me at the Detroit Lions camp, and later on in my career, he actually told me that whole story about like Chip. There was no way you shouldn't have made that Detroit team. I was at your camp, like I watched your whole camp, and I was so impressed with. He's like, I didn't even think you were gonna come. He's like, I thought like seeing you in camp. He's like, I thought you were gonna make that team. Like, I didn't think you'd come available to me. He's like, that's how good of a camp you had, and I was like, well, hey, things happen for a reason.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
How was it getting used to the CFL game coming out of college and being in NFL camps and stuff like that? Was it something you got acclimated to quite easily? Because obviously you had to deal with the waggle from the wide receivers and stuff like that, and a few different rule play, obviously. But were you able to get used to it quite easily?
All right. So my first year, Don Matthews was the coach, and he said, if I see any of you DBs in man-to-man backpedaling, I'm gonna cut you. What? What? And one guy, this is our rookie camp. One guy started backpedaling. He pulled him off the field, and we never seen him again. I don't know who this guy was. So we're like, oh shit, how the hell are we gonna play man-to-man with these guys running at us? And Thorpe is like, it's like basketball on grass, but you can touch them. At that point, I figured it like you just shuffling your feet, and I can step in front of them. And so I mean, and then I knew I could run. So I always knew I could run. Like if someone got past me, if I can clip them a little bit, I'll be able to slow them down enough to turn my hips and take off running with them. So it was an adjustment, but once I got it, it was all good.
Yeah.
It kind of came natural to me.
Yeah, I'm checking here too. I just have to ask. Your first year with the team, camp was held in Saint Jean sur Richelieu.
Yes.
What was it like having camp in Saint Jean?
It was. I mean, I went to OU. I've never had any like a bunch of nice stuff or anything like that, so it was good for me. Like it was cool. Like it was no problem.
Yeah.
I've always been like the person to be able to get just. I don't need much. Give me my cleats. Give me a bed to sleep in, and I'm good. So
Yeah.
it didn't matter. Let me play football. That's all. That's all I cared about. Let me play football. You gonna feed me too? Hey, let's go.
Was there a culture shock when you got to Quebec and realized, oh wow, there's a lot of French speaking here?
Yes, that was the biggest for me. That was the biggest adjustment. And I mean, I always tell people this here in the U.S. I'm like, when I first went there, I was one of those arrogant Americans. Like the reason people hate Americans. Like I didn't understand other cultures. Didn't care to understand our kind of like what we have going on right now in our country, which absolutely sucks. Don't want to get into politics, but like that. That's kind of how I was. But as I got there, it was a culture shock seeing people speaking French, and I'm like, what the heck is this? I thought everybody spoke English, and I ran into people who didn't speak English at all. And I was like, what the heck? Like, this is crazy. And obviously, being there, that opened me up. And it made me realize, like, yo, I've been in a freaking bubble my whole life. And now being 41 years old, I'm like, I'm looking at our politicians. I'm like, are you guys in a freaking bubble? Like, you guys are supposed to be the ones that's been around the world and interacting with people. like I said, I don't want to get into politics, but but I still was, I don't know, I was still accepting of people and people's differences. And yeah, but I thank Canada for that, for me, really opening me up to being open to other cultures, making me want to see other things other than just Columbus, Ohio. Now I want to travel the world and I want to see all the, like, I just want to see what all the religions, cultures, food, everything. Like, and that's because of Canada, like seeing all the different people and stuff.
What's the one French phrase that you will never forget?
Fred Dupree!
See, that's a
Yeah.
good one. That's a very good one.
Make some noise. Let's go.
Yeah.
And the only way I was able to remember that is because I used to say Fred Dupree. Who the hell is that?
Fred
Yeah, like who the hell is that? Yeah, so
Oh, see,
But-
if you ever wanted to be a double agent, that would be an excellent spy name or something. Fred Dupree.
Fred Dupree. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I mean, I will admit, and I think the team was still doing it back then too, Chip, is that, the team did everything to get you acclimated to the Quebec culture and to the province of Quebec. And, by French, your French classes that you guys had with other players and stuff like that. And you had players too that you played with that were fully
Yeah.
bilingual that I'm sure that were very supportive of them, of what you were trying to do. It's, as we've told many players when they first come to the city, if you just show that you were trying to the fans, they'll love you from day one.
Yes, absolutely. And that's exactly what they told. Like, who was it? Eric Lapointe. He pulled me aside and he said, "Listen." And when he found out I was going to be a starter as a rookie, he's like, "Listen, I'm gonna tell you how to make it here in Quebec, how to get the fans to love you." He's like, "Just show that you want to be a part of the culture or try." He's like, "Even if you can't speak a lick of French, at least try, and they'll love you." So, I mean, I tried, but it never worked out for me. But the fans did love me, and I still don't understand any French or know any French, but I still love Quebec and I still love the fans.
Oh, and listen, you get any game day, you will find Chip Cox jerseys in the stands. So I mean, there's no question. It was twofold. Like, you love the fans, and they had nothing but love for you as well.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, even to this day, Cliff. Even to this day, we'll still see Chip Cox jerseys in the stadium, no matter what.
Absolutely. I mean, like, just the fact that it was only recently that they reassigned the number 11 to somebody else. So I mean, like, I think that kind of speaks to the impact that you had as a member of the Alouettes.
Yeah. It'd be nice to see it up in the stands.
Yeah. Obviously, we mentioned at the beginning, you're a multi-time Grey Cup winner. Obviously, you're within the CFL Hall of Fame. But anything that you remember particularly about the times that you did win the Grey Cup?
It's crazy. When we won the Grey Cup, if you look at the pictures, there's not any pictures of me on the stage because I was always thinking about the next season.
Okay.
I mean, there's pictures of me celebrating in the locker room, but like and it was so cold after those games. I was like, I got to get to my wife and kids. Like, let me make sure they're okay. So, but I didn't enjoy the moment enough. But that was also a part of me being so successful because I knew that there was a next step.
Mm-hmm.
And it always haunted me that, okay, these guys are already 2 weeks ahead of me in off-season training because we've played 2 extra weeks. Yes, we won, great, but now I need to catch up to the guys that are ahead of me in off-season training. So, I mean, I guess that's probably why I didn't lose a step. And if you look at my last year's stats, I actually was playing just as well as any year I'd had. So
you can't tell me though you didn't enjoy the parades. I mean, everybody remembers the one from 09.
Okay,
that 2009 parade, man.
I do. I remember okay, let me tell you. Since now you jogged my memory, I'm glad you did. Yes, so 2010 when we won, that was awesome because when we came back, Usher was performing in the city. And like we had full access to everything. And we're in the same club as Usher, and we had more people around us than Usher. And I was like, yo, this is great. Like, what the heck? And like that, like you can't beat that. Usher's like one of the superstars in the biggest superstar in the world, and we had just as many people around us as he did. And I was like, yo, this is freaking cool. I've never even told anybody about that, but that was awesome.
That's
Yeah.
some pretty good company. Jeez.
Yeah. Like he had a section in the club, and we had a section too, and we were like right beside him, and it was cool. And like we're in our own world because we're feeling like we're on top of the world. Like we did everything,
Yeah.
we did what we set out to do. So it was like I remember looking over to the side and like, oh shit, that's Usher. Like so his section's right by us. But at the same time, it was like, hey, that's pretty cool, but I'm in my moment. Like, let's go.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you had obviously you lived through the 13th man, and then you lived through the back-to-back. So I mean, it's you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Did you ever think about inviting Usher over to come, hoist the Grey Cup or anything?
Nah, I never even thought about that because like I said, I was in my moment, man. We were in our moment.
Wait till we get
One thing I do remember after we won in 2009, it was one of the coolest things. Wes Cates, because we're both from Columbus, we're both from the same city. I bumped into him in the locker room, or not in the locker room, in a hotel, like that night, and he was like, man, he was telling me like how they had the highest high, they felt the feeling of winning, and he was like, then we felt the feeling of losing, and he said, but then right after that, he was like, yo, they get to feel the feeling that we just felt of winning, and he's like, man, I couldn't. He's like, y'all deserve it, and I was like. I'm like, yo, I appreciate that, Wes. Like, cause you kind of feel bad when you see somebody lose off of a 13th man, and we totally blew the field goal, like totally blew it. But then we get another chance, and it's like, damn, like that sucks for them. And then he's like, yo, I'm happy for you guys. Like, so it was pretty cool. That was a cool moment that I bet he doesn't even remember that, but that's something that always has stuck out to me.
I gotta say that's a class act right there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
for
I'm
sure.
I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna be honest. I wouldn't do that. I'd be like, fuck that. That's bullshit. Like, like. So that's just me. I know how I am.
So
Okay,
so
now
we-
sorry, Tim. I gotta ask you this, just based off of what you were just talking about with that the high and the low and everything that happened with the field goal. We got a bit of a running situation here when it comes to
about to ask him this.
everyone that has won that 2009 Grey Cup. We always ask them the same thing. Damon Duval, on a documentary, he talks about how he saw the flags just as he was making the kick, and he intentionally bricked it just to make sure that it wasn't going to go through.
Cat,
Do you
he
believe
lying.
him on that one?
Nope. And he don't even know what was. And nope, I don't believe it for one bit. He's full of shit. Let's just tell you like that. And I'll tell him that to his face. Matter of fact, Damon, if you hear this, call me, or if you get a hold of me, I'll tell you that. Like, I don't believe you, dude. I don't believe you one bit.
You probably would not be surprised how many people said the exact same thing. It was.
Yeah.
I think it's universal.
Yeah, man, come on, dude. You don't miss on purpose. Like forget that. You knock it through. If the field goal or if the flag comes out, you make sure you get the win, and then you're like, hey, I could have kicked it again. But no, you secure the win. You don't do that. Bullshit, dude.
and in
What-
a championship game. of
yeah,
all
you don't
things, too.
stop. Yeah, you don't do that. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Now, one last thing about the 2009 Grey Cup. Does it blow your mind that I believe this is the only sports team in history that has won a championship despite not leading the score, not leading the score for literally the entire game? Like, you did not take the lead until zeros hit the clock.
I didn't know that.
No,
I did not know that. And like that's awesome, man. I had no clue that. And see, that's another thing. Like you could tell me a bunch of stuff, and I wouldn't even know because I was always focused on
The next
what's
one.
next. What's next? Let's go. Like I'm focused on getting prepared for what's next. Preparing my body for what's next. I can't say preparing my mind because I didn't watch much film. As long as I knew what I was doing, that's all it mattered to me. But yeah, that's a pretty amazing. And it makes
There you-
sense though, because like we had to make a remarkable comeback. And it took us all like sitting on the sideline, like, hey, are we gonna do this? And if you guys could have been in the locker room with Avon Coburn, like the intensity he brought to that locker room when we were down at halftime, everybody was like, "Yo, what the hell are we doing? Let's go! Like, we're not about to do this again." And in my mind, I'm thinking of what happened in 2008, how we didn't score a freaking 1 point. I don't think we got a first down in the second half against Calgary at home. And our defense played so well. And I was like, yo, we got to do whatever we got to do to keep getting him the ball, getting that ball back to them. Because if we can't score, we got to keep getting him the ball as many times as possible. And my dad actually cussed me out after I'm a grown man. And he cussed me out at halftime. He came down, and as we came back on the field, he's like, what the fuck you got going on? And, that whole spiel. And yeah, so it was pretty intense. I got cussed out by my dad. And then Avon was fussing at the whole team, like, let's go, like, put it on my back. And we came out and did it.
Yeah.
Safe to say that was a good, that speech from your dad probably was a very good motivator the next year in 2009.
Well, no, that was in 2009 when he did. That's when he cussed me out.
Okay.
2009
Sorry.
when we actually came back. Yeah, 2008, I don't think I went home with my parents or my wife and girlfriend. She was my girlfriend at the time, but my wife. I think I actually got to missing because I didn't want to see anybody. And then, they called me and I was like, I'm fine. Like, I just can't come. Like, I can't do anything right. Like, I need to be away by myself. So that so happened in 2008. But 2009, my dad was like, this shit is not happening again. He cussed me out. And I think the next play is when I think that's the next play. It was the next third down or second down is when I knocked Bags out the game. Rob Bags out the game.
Well, that's true. You wrecked him.
Yep. I remember.
I think that next play is the next second down is when I knocked him out the game. So, and I didn't even realize I knocked him out the game until after the game.
Oh, you were so focused, right? Is that
Yeah,
why?
I was literally so focused. I was like, it didn't like boom. I hit him, walked off the field. Or no, I got ready for punt. They stopped the game for a little bit, but I didn't realize what was going on. I was just like, all right, what do I need to do next? Like, I was locked in.
Incredible.
Yeah, those I will admit those games between you and Saskatchewan over that 3-year span were just absolutely mind blowing. And you had that Canada Day game with SJ's catch in the end zone in overtime and stuff like that. I mean, it's like, it's tough to have the Owls really had never had a team that they could call their biggest rival, I guess, until recently. But I mean, but Chip, you did so much as an Alouette. I mean, even today, I mean, a couple of CFL records you still hold and stuff like that. I mean, you're Defensive Player of the Year in 2013. And obviously, and then in 2014, the Owls rewarded you by signing you to something that is rarely done, I think, in the CFL or with the Alouettes. They signed you to a 3-year contract. I mean, it's obviously you were worth what you got paid. We've always told the players that we've spoken with, you're always worth for what you get paid, especially if it's a 3-year contract.
Yeah.
Are you able to give a little bit of insight to how that came to be? Because as I said, you were very good at the time. And obviously you were a free agent. Can you give us a little bit of insight to the whole negotiation process without giving too much away, obviously? But
I mean, I can give you what I have. I just knew I didn't want to play anywhere else. I knew that I wanted to use that contract to be able to set up for after football. And I was like, I know this has been a great career, but I don't know how much longer it's going to last. So I want to finish here. I want to, everything that I wanted, I was able to get. And then I had my track record of I'm going to be ready. I'm going to be in shape. And then also Jim knew that even if I wasn't 100%, I was going to lay it on the line for the team anyway, which happened a few times in my career where I probably shouldn't have stepped on the field, and it didn't matter because I was that loyalty thing again. Like, you guys don't have anybody better right now, so I guess I'll go out there. And my career at that point didn't, like, longevity of my career and how I looked on the field didn't matter to me. I was doing it for my franchise and my team. Like, my whole 2017 season, I shouldn't have played. After Edmonton game, that whole season, I should not have played. Like I was playing on a bum knee. Like my knee was jacked up. So, and then I started getting healthy as we like towards the end of the season. And then that last game, I was healthy against Edmonton. That last game that I played in 2017, and that's when I actually sprained my MCL, and it took like, and I finished that game. I sprained my MCL going into halftime, and after the game, the doctor grabbed my leg and was like, "Wait a second, you played the whole half like this?" And I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Dude, you're done for the season. Like your MCL is gone." And I'm like, "All right, like okay." And then, so I missed the last 3 games of that season, and I really shouldn't have played the whole season because my other knee, how bad it was. I couldn't even bend it. Yeah, it was. But like I said, I knew that they made that commitment to me, so that was my commitment to you guys, to the team, to the franchise, and that's just the guy I am. Like I don't care what other people are thinking, as long as everybody in my house knows what's going on. My family, my circle, they know I'm doing it for them. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what matters.
Was it always a 3-year contract that you had wanted? I mean, had you asked for more? I mean, we've seen the Owls sign players for more than 3 years, but you ended up
I would have
getting that.
signed longer. I would have signed
Yeah.
longer. I would have. I mean, I played that whole contract out, and then I actually renegotiated it for Cavis Reeves, whatever. But that dude,
Yeah.
That's one way to describe him.
I was about to say your reaction chip says it all. That's okay.
yeah, you don't want to speak bad about anybody. I mean, I hope he's
I
well
know.
and everything. So, yeah,
No, we get it because I mean, you saw the highs of highs and the lows of lows when you were with the team, man. I
yeah,
mean, Grey Cup champion to I think it was worst team in the CFL or a 3-win team in the CFL.
yeah.
It's not fun. In in your time, I mean, it's which besides the Grey Cup teams, I guess we could say it's how was it in the locker room? I mean, how were you because some say, depending which player you talk to, it's the fans and the media don't know anything about what's actually happening, so they need to quit making stuff up. Um, how would you describe the locker rooms throughout your latter years with the Alouettes?
As we started losing,
Yeah.
it was hard for me because everybody wanted to be friends. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
in those earlier years, they didn't give a fuck about being. Sorry, man, I keep cussing. They
It's
didn't
okay.
Don't
care
worry.
about being each other's friends. Like you're looking at SJ, you know, Avon Coburn, Jamel Richardson. You know, obviously you had Ben Cahoon and AC. Like those guys they were on their own. Like we're not talking about them. But like I'm talking about like SJ, J Rich, me, Marcus Stell, Billy Parker, Gerald Brown. Like we didn't care if we were each other's friends. We were going to hold each other accountable. We were going to call each other out. We were going to practice as hard as we could against each other. It wasn't this is no, man, fuck that. Like Jay Rich was running downhill at me just like he was running at everybody in the game, and I was jamming him and staying in front of him just like I try and do with everybody in the game. Like, and it was the same thing with Billy, with Mark, and like we had fights and stuff, but we had a mutual respect for each other too, because. I mean, think about this. Andrew Hawkins was a scout team player on that team. Chad Owens was a scout team player on that team. Like, they didn't when they got reps against us, they didn't have good reps because we didn't want to give up anything. So, like, that's the type of competition we were having. It was, and everybody thought they were the top dog in the locker room, and everybody was trying to prove that on the field. And then in those lighter years, it was more like, oh, let's not wave the boat. And I'm just like, man, this shit is going. This is crazy, man. Like, what are we talking about? You fuss at somebody and it's their butt hurt, and then everybody's want to be mad at you, and it's like, dude, what? Like, okay, like I don't know the way. I don't know the way. I don't know how it works. I don't know how we're supposed to be. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not supposed to hold you accountable for. It's okay that you just let that guy run by you, or you blew that coverage 3 times in a row that the coach took specifically pulled film on for you to watch and told us all, held up the meeting 15 minutes so you could watch this one coverage. But that's okay. You fucked it up again on practice. No,
Did,
like
yeah. Did the ownership situation that was happening at the time in Montreal help at all either? Because obviously you
it's,
had Mr. Wettenall for most of your Grey Cup years, obviously in the
mhm.
earlier time when you're with the Alouettes in your rookie year and so on. But later on, it was still technically the Wettenall family, but it was his son. Did
I,
that kind of mess with you guys too with what you were able to do on the field, or were you just keeping that out of mind, out of sight?
and see me. So for me, I was always like, "What is going?" Like I didn't know what was going on. I heard rumors and stuff, but it didn't matter to me, right? Like I'm getting to play football. Like I know how we should be in here, and I know it's not right in here.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I mean, me and Billy Parker had a few conversations because he was the coach for a couple years too, and obviously not him not jeopardizing his job, and me being respectful of like, hey, I don't want you to cross. I know we're really good friends, so
Hmm.
me not asking him what's going on or anything like that, but us like, man, why? We're just basically venting to each other like, why is this? Why is that? Why aren't these guys acting like, you know? We had a few conversations about what the like how we felt things weren't going right.
Yeah.
So
Let's talk about something a little bit more positive. You've had some pretty outstanding defensive coordinators in your career in Montreal. I'm talking guys like
Oh, yeah.
Tim Burke, Jeff Reinbold, who, by the way, we had him on a couple of years ago, spoke glowingly
Yeah.
about you. Noel Thorpe.
Yeah.
Of all those guys, like who are the most fun to play for? I'm not saying that they were the easiest on you or the hardest or whatever. Who did you like get excited? Like, okay, let this guy coach me up and let's go.
Okay, so let's talk about Jeff Reinbold.
Let's.
Jeff Reinbold, he put a defense in. So like I love Jeff. And like I don't know why he put a defense in that took me off the field. And I told him, I said, in practice, I said, this shit ain't gonna work. Because that's the type of player I was. Like, I'm gonna tell you how I feel. Like, this shit ain't gonna work. And he's like, well, let's just I'm telling you right now, this shit ain't gonna work. So I sat over there, and then come game day, he called the play. And I come off the field and I said the same thing. I said, this shit ain't gonna work. And then we gave up a 50-yard play. I didn't even ask him to put me, I didn't even say about putting me back. I ran back on the field and said, I told you that shit wasn't gonna work. And I pulled the defense off. But like me and Jeff have always had a great relationship. But that was like my one biggest beef with him. And I never forgot about it. I'm glad you guys let me vent about that. So yeah. But now the coach that would challenge me the most was probably, I would say it has to be Noah Thorpe. I mean, Noah was there when I was a rookie, right? Noah was there when my dad came in after a game and made me watch film with him and Coach Thorpe. And my dad was like, why you do this? You know what you're supposed to do, and Coach Thorpe is like, shit, he loved it. This is I'm a rookie, I'm a grown man, but Coach Thorpe was like, huh, he loved it. You know what I mean? Like, and he always brought that up. Like, even in the latter part of my career, he's like, remember when your dad came in? I was like, yeah, man. I mean, that's what it is, man. You gotta hold people accountable. And yeah, so and Coach Thorpe is the reason I was able to get like my first house because the bank actually called him and was like, hey, if Mr. Cox gets cut from the Redskins, are you guys going to bring him back to Montreal? And he's like, well, absolutely. So the bank approved me from that conversation. We've me and Thorpe, we've always we're competitors. I mean, we've never had like sit down kumbayas, but we always understood like what we were there for. He knew I was there. He knew I had his back. Like I'm going to go out there and do what I'm supposed to do. Um, And I mean, yeah, man, he was a big part of my career because I mean, even as a rookie, he kind of pulled me aside after my rookie season. It was like, you got robbed out of rookie of the year, right? And I'm like, hey, I don't think about that stuff, but he's like, yeah, you got robbed out of rookie of the year. You should have been rookie of the year. Like, there's no question. He's like, you led your team in interceptions, you led the league in block punts, and you were really high up on special teams tackles, and you were fourth on your team in tackles. And your man-to-man percentage was higher than anybody's on your team. So how do you not win Rookie of the Year? I'm like, I don't know, Coach. So, but he's always kept that edge on me too, like challenging me like that. Like, you got robbed, so what are you going to do next year? You know. And then after winning Defensive Player of the Year, I got hurt the next season. I played hurt, and he understood that I was playing hurt, but he's like, all right, so what are we going to do? Like, how are you going to how you gonna still perform very well? How you gonna still perform well? Even 2017, that's crazy. 2017, he told me, he said, I don't know, Chip, I think you should sit down. And I told him in the locker, I said, Coach, if you don't have nobody better, I got you. Like, I'm gonna just go out there and play. So he actually had that conversation. Billy had the conversation with me. Everybody tried to have me sit down, but I was like, yo, if you guys don't have anybody better, like, we're in this together. I don't care what our record is. Like, I gotta go play. If I can walk, I can play, man. If you don't have anybody better. So let's go. And then he ended up losing his job midway through the season. So me and Coach Thorpe, we have a really good. I mean, it's a like I said, we've never sat and talked, but we have an understanding. We look at each other and we know, like, hey, we're here for the same thing.
I think, Cliff, we need to go back and watch some of the 2017 games. Now that we have this insight from Chip, it may give a lot more context, because it's like, as Chip is, I'm taking this from you, Chip. It's better a Chip at potentially 40 or 50% than the other guy that's the other guy that's going to replace you. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
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 No, that's the
Because
mentality
if
you
you
got to
turn
go
around
with.
like if you go below, and then you look at the next season, 2018, and I didn't start the beginning of the season, but then you put, like, when I did started playing again, I ended up with like second on the team in sacks, pretty close to. I think I was pretty high up in tackles also, and I missed 4 games, but my man-to-man percentage as a Sam linebacker was still below 50%. So I had the highest man-to-man percentage in the league, I believe. So, like, when you put me in man-to-man in coverage, I still gave up less than anybody else. But then I didn't have a job the next year. So it was like
Well,
I was still playing very well.
I was going to ask you that. I know you mentioned it earlier in the podcast. I think you mentioned it before we started the interview tonight. Um, what do you think was the reason that you weren't back with the Alouettes? Why do you think that they did not call you back?
I would say, I mean, Cavis having whatever he had going on, not knowing what he had. I mean, perception is reality sometimes if you don't actually look at the hard analytics of things. And I've never been a numbers guy, but I've been an analytics guy. Like, numbers, you can lie on numbers, because I can have 9 interceptions but give up 20 touchdowns. You know what I mean? Like, at that point, you're not, and I can have 9 interceptions and be giving up 75% of the passes that are thrown at you. So you still are on the bad side of it, but you just have 9 interceptions. I look at like I said, I look at the hard analytics of things, and those analytics don't lie. When you have more get off the field plays than anybody, that's a real number. Like, that's not they're attacking you more. It's, no, you're making plays when it matters to get off the field. So I don't know. I mean, obviously I would say the ownership changing, maybe wanting to turn a new tide, and then I'm not a real salesperson, right? So I'm not the guy that's going to be in the media. I'm not the guy that's going to be, you know, I'm not going to be mentoring people. Like, if you don't want to fucking do it, cool. I know the way. If you want to follow me, come on. But if you don't, I'm not going to talk you into it. Do what you got to do. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do what I have to do to keep myself, because I'm a professional. I'm gonna do what I'm supposed to do. I'll show you the way, but if you don't want to follow, I'm not gonna stress myself about it.
Did you like dealing with the media in Montreal? As I said, I know I can tell now how focused you were at playing football. You're always looking forward to the next year or next game, something like that.
Yeah.
Did you like dealing with the media, whether it be English or French?
So
The
that
media
was
in
the
Montreal?
thing. Like, people didn't think I liked dealing with the media. In actuality, I was just more focused on. I didn't want to talk about what I was doing. Like,
Mhm.
I understand that's what you guys have to do to make money to get the league. Like, I understand all that, but like, I I just want to play football.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to play football. It wasn't that I didn't like doing it. It was just I was dry. You know what I mean? Like, well, how'd the game go? I don't know yet. I didn't even haven't looked at it.
Okay.
Like, I don't know, because I'm not thinking about how the game went. I'm thinking about how can what do I have to do next to get ready for the next game, to get ready for the next practice. And it was like, I might have came off like I didn't like the media. I would say I was socially awkward, because I was just so laser focused on what I wanted to do.
It's interesting you say that, because I'm getting a lot more perspective from you tonight, Chip, than I have ever have, and it's told me more about you as a player, because I remember one year it was one of the season ticket holder events that the players had to show up at. And I tried to converse with you a little bit. But and I said it wasn't a bad conversation, but as you said, you're so focused at this. And now, as I said, it gives me a lot more insight on why our interaction that day wasn't as it is now, because you were so focused.
It's weird. I tell my wife, like, babe, I almost don't know how to have fun. Like, I've never drank and I've never smoked. I almost don't know how to have fun because football is fun to me. Like, that's what I like doing. That's been my whole life, and that's all I've ever wanted to do since I was 5 years old. Like, even now, people are like, well, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? I don't know. I don't like doing anything. I like football. But I
Just
know
like
right
hitting people.
now, you know what I mean? Like, I know right now I can't coach football. I can't be around football because I love my family more than that now.
Right.
So it's one of those things where I'm just sitting here like, all right, like, what am I going to do next?
Yeah.
So,
You
yeah.
talk to us. That's what you do next.
Yeah, there you go. I got you. Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that we asked you about your Grey Cup ring off air, and why have you not really looked at your Grey Cup championship rings? Is it something? Obviously, you're very proud for in the championships that you won, because as we can tell from how you talk about it tonight. But is it something of a day-to-day thing that you're just, again, you're still so centered on the business, you're so centered on your family, that it's not something that I mean, are you the type of person who will look at the past, or is it rather you just want to look towards the future?
I think because the past is so good. Like, I mean, I go back to my childhood. My childhood was great. But then when I go back and actually look where I grew up and look at the neighborhood I grew up in, I was like, damn, I was actually, like, I was happy here. And that's where everybody's trying to get out.
Hmm.
But, like, I had great memories. Like, life was good. And I grew up in a very bad neighborhood. But, like, like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just always in the moment. Like, I
Hmm.
don't, like, so then looking back at the Grey Cups, I can't bring them back. Those were great memories. And then, like, I'm a pretty emotional guy. So, like, if I start looking back, it'll actually make me sad because I'm like, shit, I would like to go back and relive that. You know what I mean? But I can't. So looking back and doing that, it would put me in an emotional mood, and I get sad actually because I'll be like, damn, that happy time is gone, and I'll never
Yeah.
be able to do that again.
Yeah, it's not like you can watch the '09 Grey Cup on YouTube, and there's only, you have more memories obviously than what we saw on television. But I mean, I kind of get what you're saying. I kind of get what you're
Yeah, I
saying.
mean, it's just it's weird. I'm weird about stuff like that. I don't know. It's just yeah, I like to enjoy what's going on right now because if I keep looking in the past, I want to relive those moments. I
Yeah.
mean, shit, I look at pictures of my kids and I'm like, I don't want them to grow up. Like, and there's nothing you can do. It's gonna keep going. So the only way I guess I keep myself sane is to just keep going.
Right.
Because if I look back, I won't be sane because I have a lot of great memories and a lot of things that I could just sit on and be happy about.
Yeah. Go ahead, Chris.
Speaking of memories, let's talk about how you get into the Canadian Football Hall of Fame. I mean, I know this is kind of reliving a lot of that past glory and everything like that, but when you got that call, what was going through your mind when they said, "Yeah, we want you in the Hall of Fame"?
This is how delusional I am. I'm so delusional. I was still in pretty good shape at the time. I could still dunk a basketball with two hands. And when they called, it was like, I'm looking for a guy that can play special teams, be a starter on defense, and start on 3 special teams. And I was like, well, I don't know if I can do all that, but I can do one of the 3. I mean, I can either start on special teams or I can, be a starter on defense. What are you saying? And he was like, well, this is Mike O'Shea, and I wanted to let you know that you've been. I was like, and in my mind, I'm thinking, well, shit, does Mike O'Shea? I'd actually be a pretty good team to go to and play again because, they have a really good system, and I don't have to be as athletic as I used to be, and like that was what was going through my mind. And then he's like, yeah, I wanted like, so I didn't hear anything. And he's like, I wanted to let you know that you're going to be in the Canadian Hall of Fame. And I was like, wait, what? Oh, like, and my heart just dropped. And I was like, oh, and this is my first year. Like I thought, through my mind, I was like, I didn't realize it was the first year that I was eligible. And somebody had spoke to me probably 6 months before, and they're like, "Hey, when do you think you'll?" I was like, "Man, I don't know. Like defensive players don't get it on the first year, and I don't even know when my first year would be because I technically haven't retired." And then, surprise, they retired me anyway, and yeah, and gave me the honors of being in the Hall of Fame, and it was really shocking to me, like because I knew I was appreciated. I knew I knew I had a good career, but I didn't know I was appreciated that much to be a first ballot Hall of Famer as a defensive player, and like especially at like DB linebacker, like that position. So it was really humbling, and it was like it was great. It was one of the best calls I've had in my life.
I mean, that is, I mean, listen, we go back through your career. We talked about the stats. We talked about the moments and everything like that. And I mean, to me, to hear you say that you have a hard time wrapping your head around it, like we don't. And clearly the Canadian Football League doesn't because,
Yeah,
as you said, first ballot Hall of Famer. I mean, it
yeah,
doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, that's rarefied air, Chip. That really is,
yeah.
man. As you said, I mean, DB and a defensive guy getting on the first ballot. Yeah,
Right.
well, you did it. You
And
did it.
that's another reason why it was so shocking to me because I was always used to getting the short end of the stick. You know what I mean? Like high school, I didn't start till my senior year. College, I didn't even I didn't even get all MAC. So like I was always in my rookie year, not winning rookie of the year. So like I was used to getting the short end of the stick. I feel like I can say it now. I feel like I got cheated out of 2 defensive player of the years, or not cheated, but I'll say robbed out of 2 defensive player of the years in the Canadian Football League. So then the one I did win, it was so astronomically dominant that they couldn't do anything but give it to me. So I've always felt like I got the short end of the stick. So it was like, hey, this is going to happen to me again. I'll just have to wait until 10 years from now. And then when it happened, I was like, oh shit, like it actually, I didn't get the short end of the stick. Like it happened. So yeah.
Surprise.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Uh, Obviously, Chip, I, I did not know 60 minutes has gone by like a flash, and I just loved
Yeah.
listening to you. I think both Cliff and I have, and I'm sure the fans are going to love listening to this conversation. What when people think about Chip Cox and the CFL and the Montreal Alouettes, what do you want them to remember the most?
Man, I play with my heart. I gave it everything. I didn't hold back. That's what I.
There's no question, man.
There's no question.
Yeah.
And if we have a thing to say, if the Alouettes can expand their Ring of Honor, dude, your name would be worthy of being up amongst the players who have had their numbers retired. With all honesty, I really mean that, Chip, because as you said, we were just talking about it. First ballot Hall of Famer for a defensive guy, and
Yeah.
what you did in your career with Montreal.
And never mind that, your entire career in Montreal. Talk about Alouette for life. When people talk about that, like, the people talk about the Alouette way or the whatever team way or things like that. Like to me, I'll be honest, it sounds a little hokey, but I mean, like
Yeah.
when you embody it and when you actually show that it actually can be a thing, then I mean, it's undeniable. I mean, you definitely were the Alouettes through and through, and that's good times and bad. You were the embodiment of what I guess the Alouette way, if you want to use that term, actually is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, man. I'm grateful for it. I appreciate it. And I loved it every minute of it. Even when we were losing, I still loved it because I was able to play football. Like, you can't beat that.
You get paid to hurt people. How great is that?
Yeah, man. Like, what are we talking about? And that's like, I don't understand how people. So here was one of my things. I know you guys probably have to go, but here's one of my things. Like, you get guys in the locker room, they're like, I love football and I want to play football. But then they put like, oh, I'm not going to play special teams. Oh, I'm not going to do. Fuck that, coach. If you want me to play special teams and you want me to play defense, tired is not a word that I believe in. So I'm going to do it. If I'm the best man for the job, I'm going to do it. Like, I'll do whatever you like. I will not come off the field. And if I need to get in better shape, then I'll do that because I love playing football. Like, I don't love watching football. I love playing football. It's just simple and plain. If you love playing football, you won't put a tag on it. You let somebody else put your limits and worry about your time and minutes. You don't worry about your time and minutes. You don't get tired. You keep playing.
And
That's it.
playing special teams made you a better player.
Oh
For
yeah.
sure. For sure.
Yes. Yep.
So
with that in mind, I'm guessing you don't still watch the CFL or football at all because since you can't be a part of it.
I don't know. So I watch a little bit, and it frustrates me when I see guys miss more tackles in one game than I miss in a season. It's like, what are we doing? Like that's the basics of football. Like you can't tackle. Like how are you playing football and getting paid? Like
yeah.
Like I get it. You might miss a tackle every once in a while, but you're missing more tackles in a game, and I'm watching this game, and you missed more than I miss in a season. Like stop! I can't watch that. Yeah.
How many remotes have you thrown at a TV, Chip? You can't count that high?
I've thrown them down. I've thrown them to the
Okay.
ground. I've thrown them to the ground. No, I haven't thrown them at a TV because my wife would kill me. But I have slammed them down on the couch and jumped up and walked out the room because I like watching college football more than anything because I'm an Ohio State fan. So I love watching that. But then sometimes I'm looking at some of the mistakes they make, and I'm like, are they not listening to their coach, or is their coach not telling them, like, you should never do that? I don't care how good you are.
Maybe Ryan Day needs to pick up the phone and get you on board.
I don't think I could be as committed as those guys. I mean, not at this stage in my life. My son's playing baseball and AAU basketball. My daughters are playing club volleyball, AAU basketball, and running track. And that's 3 kids, and 2 of them are in 3 different sports, and 1 of them's in 2 sports. So I don't think I could do it at this time in my life. My wife would. Yeah, she could. I need to be home right now.
I think all Alouettes fans though still would love to see Coach Chip on the sideline for sure.
I had about 2 years ago, I had no interest in coaching. Now now I know I can't play the game. Now I know that's done. I have a little interest, but I know right now is not the time because it's my kids' time to do their sports and stuff. But there may be a day where I try and get into coaching because I think I could do it with this new day and age that's going on, a little bit of how old school I am. And I do have a lot of open-minded thoughts too, as far as like how players could be. I think I'd be meshed pretty well.
Maybe we talk to Coach Thorpe, and maybe down the line, not right away, but down the line, maybe we get you in as a guest coach for training camp.
Okay, so I would do that if I could do a guest coach in training camp. I mean, the only honestly, CFL season wouldn't be as bad as like staying here in the States coaching. Like the CFL season might actually fit my schedule a little bit better because in the fall, my daughters are just doing volleyball, then that's for the school. And so by wintertime, when their basketball season's here, and that's their number one sport. So wintertime, I'd be home. I'd only miss when my son started playing football in about 4 more years when he starts playing tackle football. But hey, he could come up there and play in Canada.
Yeah,
there you go.
And do it. So I mean, he did live with me a lot my last 2 years in Montreal. He stayed with me. So
he qualifies for national status. There you go. This is perfect.
I don't think he was on papers like stamps there, but yeah. But yeah.
They can work. They can work. They'll figure a way. Don't
figure it out. Yeah.
Well, listen. Now we got something to talk to Coach Thorpe about. Tim, we'll casually drop your name in there. Just down the line. Down the line.
I thought about that. I was like, I thought about actually reaching out and saying, hey, how does this guest coach? If I wanted to guest coach like for training camp, how would that work out? Like, how would that happen? Because there's an interest. I'm not gonna lie, there's an itch now, and it had never happened before, and it's coming in probably last 6 months, and I've been just sitting and letting it fester.
So. Well, you wouldn't have to go to Saint Jean, Chip, because it's just about 45 minutes outside of Montreal now in Saint Jerome. So you wouldn't have to go worry about that. And I think you're a little bit closer to civilization than you were in Saint Jean. So
okay, yeah, all right.
Chip, we're so proud to be able to speak with you tonight. We really are. And I'm sure everybody in Alouettes Nation remembers you very fondly. We'll remember the name Chip Cox. And again, it was just a pleasure of ours to be able to speak with you tonight. If anybody, are you on social? Can anybody follow you on social media?
I'm on Instagram, ChipCox11. Yeah, that's pretty simple. I'm pretty basic.
Okay.
Yep,
That's
pretty
cool.
easy. Yep.
Keep it simple. That's good.
Yep.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you go. Follow your boy, Chip Cox 11. There you go.
Thank you. Yep.
Again, I greatly appreciate it, Chip, and congratulations on everything you've done with your career. And if you do happen to come up for that guest coach, just make sure you reach out to us, and we'll be more than happy to come up and say hey.
All righty. Hey, thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. And yeah, man, all the love in the world. I love Montreal. Love my fans. Love the fans in Montreal.
I will admit, I don't. I think it's that the part that I think that really stood out to me the most, obviously how open he was about his career, but I don't think I ever expected that, that little bit of emotion that he showed right near the very end of the interview. It was unexpected, but I think it also gave another side to Chip, besides the man that we now know that is so focused and centered on everything that just seems that thinking about Alouettes Nation and thinking about his career caused him to show a little bit of emotion.
No, as I said, we went through everything when it came to Chip. No holds barred, obviously, with the salty language and such. But I mean, that was Chip right there. Love it or hate it. I mean, and again, for Alouettes fans, they that were privileged enough to see Chip Cox play back in the day, to see how he is now, and for him to be able to look back on that part of his life, and lots of great memories. I mean, he has no grudges. Obviously, he has no axes to grind or anything like that, which is great. I mean, he was just, as you said, candid, honest about everything, and I feel incredibly privileged that we were able to speak with him and have a chance to share his story, give him his flowers as well, and let him know that, hey, you are very much appreciated here in the 514. You are very much a part of this organization, and not just its history, but I mean, if you want it, maybe even a part of the future as well. So again, we are so thankful that Chip was able to come on, speak with us this evening. As far as I'm concerned, he knocked it out of the park. And I hope each and every one of you listening that had a chance to listen to this interview, I hope you have a chance to really take it in and just appreciate Chip for everything he's given us, warts and all.
Yeah, exactly. Going from that, obviously the other big news that came across the wire, and we kind of buried the lead at the beginning, and spoilers. The CFL does have a new commissioner, and again, this is something again that came out of nowhere. I don't think we saw this coming at all, because all of a sudden we saw it was it Dan Ralph who put something out the day prior, stating that it's very possible that we're going to see something when it comes to the new commissioner.
That's right.
Being named. And sure enough, that's what happened the next day. And I will admit, like most of these guys, over the past couple of years, Cliff, unless they were a player, or if you knew if you knew where he came from, his former job, you wouldn't know who a lot of these guys would have been. But I will admit, when Stuart Johnson was named as the new commissioner, I had no clue who he was until I read basically his bio.
Mm.
It's interesting. It's interesting to say the least, because yes, he has ties to television. Yes, he has ties to negotiations. Yes, he has ties to sports. To me, the biggest, I don't know if I would call it a surprise, but the biggest thing I'm going to take away from it is he's coming from TSN, which, if you know the CFL, you know that is that's the CFL's broadcast partner for English television.
Mm.
And yeah, it's very possible, because I know you and I have kind of been looking forward to it. It's very possible it may put an interesting wrinkle in the upcoming television negotiations once the contract expires in 2026. What were your thoughts when you first heard who he was, and then you read his bio?
Well, definitely an interesting choice. I mean, as you said, we've had all different types be the commissioner of the Canadian Football League. Now we're getting someone who does have intricate knowledge of the league itself, but coming at it from a media perspective, essentially as the head of TSN, as you said, the Canadian Football League's lead broadcaster, working closely with TSN RDS, obviously was an integral part of previous negotiations when it came to the becoming the rights bearer of the Canadian Football League broadcasts and the Grey Cup. And now he gets to be a part of that again, but now on the other side as representing the Canadian Football League and its 9 teams and so on. If nothing else, this is someone who definitely has a lot of knowledge as far as how to present this game, how to hopefully make it more marketable. And a lot of people, I think it's been a sticking point for a lot of people over the years, is the TSN does not do a very good job of showcasing this game and its players. The marketing of this league is minimal at best. And I think I'm being generous in saying that. We've got, despite what Ed Hervey says, we've got superstars in this league. And it's just simply a matter of properly showcasing them. And that's something that the CFL and TSN, hand in hand, working together, they could be doing a lot better job of that. And it's very possible now with Stuart Johnson might be able to, now that he's seen it from one side of things, on the TSN side of things, now he has a chance to see things from the CFL side of things. And maybe, just maybe, he can find ways to help promote this product better, to help reinvigorize the idea of making the CFL not just must-see TV, but must attend, to really create that vibe that, yes, the CFL is important. It is very much a integral part of the fabric of Canada, and that this is something that people need to get behind and get interested in. And let's face it, with the current climate that's going on right now, I mean, this is the time to promote the Canadian Football League as a Canadian product. Yes, there are Americans and global players that are playing, but this is a league for Canadians, by Canadians, with Canadians in it. And right now, this is the time that you need to be, if you're talking about support local, by Canadian, and so on and so forth. Well, what better example of doing that than to support the Canadian Football League? But you got to get people excited about it. You got to get people interested. You got to make sure that people tune in and like, oh, I got to watch this. I got to see what's going on. I got to choose a team, anything. You got to get people excited about the Canadian Football League. And my hope is that Stuart Johnson is the guy that can help do that, or at least get things going in the right direction, and hopefully bringing in people that know how to do that, know how to generate that excitement, know how to get that buzz going, and really tap into what I feel is, a prime market in young fans, getting them interested in Canadian football, getting them excited about it, getting them excited about the teams, getting excited about games, and making everything so much more important. Like make these events, because I find that something that both TSN and CFL are both guilty of, is not making things events. Like the Combine, for example, was not televised or streamed. CFL draft, once again, first 2 rounds are on TSN, and then if you're lucky, you might find it on CFL.ca or TSN.ca if they so choose. But I'm not holding my breath on that one. There's so many things. There are so many things that the CFL and TSN can do to really make this league so much more visible and so much more marketable. And I hope this is the time. I hope they realize that they've had all this time to do that, and they still haven't quite gotten it. Could this be the answer? Could bringing in someone who's seen things from the TSN side of things into the league Could that be the spark that's needed? Could that be the the first of hopefully many moves that this league is going to take to better itself and to grow and prosper? I sure hope so, because let's face it, your average CFL fan is not getting younger. And if you want this league to continue to grow and thrive and do great things, you got to bring in younger people, and you got to establish new fans and get them excited about the product. And with the TV negotiations that are going to be taking place, no doubt, next year, it's funny. I've seen a lot of people say that this is basically going to be a fait accompli with the former TSN head now running the league. Surely that means, well, maybe not. Maybe there's still a possibility of other factors in play, but it's going to make for a very.
You and I both know there. You and I, come on. I agree with you. I agree with you. I think everybody is dreaming in Technicolor. So you think it's the fait accompli? Come on. Never, ever. So far as we learned, ever forget the initials PKP. Do not, especially in this type of situation. No. This we may not hear all the fireworks, but this will be fun. I still say it's going to be get out your popcorn worthy. So
I hope so, because I mean that's what's going to make things exciting. And if that's what's going to take to get people talking and move the needle, as they say, then I'm all for it. So I'm really curious to see how it's going to be. And I guess it's all going to start at the CFL draft, because now finally the league has somebody to officiate it, to make the picks and let people know which young men are going to go to the prospective CFL teams. I mean, I figured, okay, you're going to have to name somebody before the CFL draft. And sure enough, they did. So, yeah, definitely going to be very interesting, I think, going forward.
I do too. And I think, I think we can say this now that we don't. I know it could be wrong, but with Rogers just spending $11 billion Canadian to the NHL for the next 12 years of their NHL package, I don't see them being in the mix. So,
well, I mean, listen, $11 billion is nothing to sneeze at. That's for sure.
No, but mind you, nor is it was $9 million a year. I'm trying to remember.
50 million.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It covered basically the salary for all CFL teams every year for each year of the contract.
Correct.
Basically what it was. Every year's contract, salary for every year. It should be interesting. And Randy Ambrosi will be staying on until I think it's April 24th. That's when Commissioner Johnson will take over. And maybe for the very first time, maybe we will have a commissioner on. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what a different perspective for sure. Getting a guy in the very first year, but we'll let him do what he needs to do. Let's let him get in the office, and we'll take it from there. So, but don't forget, we are on social media. You can find us almost anywhere. You can find us over on X and Blue Sky over at Alouettes FL Deck. You can find us over on Facebook over at Alouettes Flightdeck Pod. And you can find us on Instagram and YouTube over at Alouettes Flightdeck. Do not forget, especially when it comes to YouTube, you can find you can find the audio version, you can find the video version, and you can find our post-game show, which we have some news coming up very shortly about them, by the way, about Flightdeck Live. So stay tuned for that. Also, if you want to listen to any of the archive of all of our shows that we've ever done, head over to alouettesflightdeck.ca. If you're looking for merch, you can do so by heading over to flightdeckgear.ca, and we are still planning on having some new stuff, including the new 10th anniversary logo tee. So stay tuned for that. And also, again, we do want to thank our presenting sponsor, Royal Retros, where if you go to royalretros.com and use the code FlightDeck at checkout, you will save 10% off your entire order.
Absolutely. And again, folks, if you are watching us on YouTube or listening to us on YouTube even, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you're subscribed. Definitely leave some comments as well for us as well. That really does help boost our presence on the YouTubes. Hit that notification bell so you know that when a new episode drops or when Flightdeck Live hits the airwaves, you'll be notified. You'll be able to tune in right away. And of course, make sure you're subscribed or following us on all the other social platforms. You know that each and every one of us definitely appreciates it. I've said it before and I said it again. If you love the Flight Deck, tell a friend, tell a coworker, tell everybody. If you don't love the show, tell us. Let us know what we can do to make things better.
Exactly. As I said, it'll be a minimum of 2 weeks. But we're going to try to get back on schedule if possible. But obviously, we got a couple of things that we started doing last year that we want to do again this year, because I think it's good content for the show, and it's a great lead up. Helps with the lead up to the draft and to the start of training camp. So stay tuned for that. But again, stay tuned to all of our socials, and we will keep you up to date. And again, as I said earlier, it is very possible that the Flight Deck will be represented in some way, shape, or form at the open house in St. Jerome on April 12th. But again, as I mentioned before, stay tuned to all of our socials for any more information concerning that. But other than that, we hope everybody enjoy the show. Cliff, I got to admit again, nothing against any of our other interviews that we've had over the years. The one tonight and the same the reaction after we finished it. I'd put the interview with Chip right up there in one of the top that we've ever had.
Oh, what a privilege that we have to be able to talk to all the people that we've had on the show. I think have helped make it what it is today. And again, we are truly thankful to everybody that comes on and speaks with us. But having the opportunity to speak with Chip and be able to share his story, as far as I'm concerned, it's a privilege. And it's a privilege I don't take lightly. And I'm so thankful that we had the opportunity to speak with him, let him tell his story. And if we can even just be a small part of that, I'm definitely appreciative of it. So again, hope, ladies and gentlemen, you definitely get a chance to really take in that interview. And yeah, it was definitely an experience like no other. So once again, thank you so much again to Chip Cox for joining us this evening here on the Flight Deck to share his story. What a treat. What a guy. What a treat. Absolutely.
Yep. I agree. So we will be talking to you in the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned for everything. So everybody here at the Alouettes Flight Deck, for Cliffy D, I'm Tim Capper. We're on Final Approach.